So we're going to dive into data and what you can do and how you can use that uniquely considering you are a high-risk brand. So we'll get into some intros today. So you have myself coming from the Justuno perspective, which is all about on-site conversion and creating an experience based off of unique triggers and conditions that you've established for your visitor or your audience on the website. So we're super about conversion, but super about making sure you're creating an optimized conversion experience throughout. So not just these one-offs. But I'll get into that, and I would love to hear from you, Michaela, from the Spring Big side. Can we get an intro?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Michaela McLaughlin, and I'm on the tail end of a cold, losing my voice. So feeling great, but my voice is taking a little bit of time to catch up. So bear with me. I'm the SVP of Business Development at Spring Big. I oversee our sales and client success organizations. And Spring Big specializes in helping retailers and high-risk businesses build relationships with their customers. We do that through loyalty programs, custom apps, digital communication channels like SMS and email. And we really are super glad to be here on such an awesome panel. We love data-driven relationships powering the retail environment. So we were really excited to participate today. Thanks, SJ.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to hear from you just because you're so deep into what these brands are experiencing and like making more out of that channel, SMS. Thank you. Let's take it over to Shannon. Can we get an intro, please?
Hey everyone, I'm Shannon. I'm the Director of Partnerships here at Smarter. Smarter is the top subscription platform for growing Shopify brands. I'm actually at Shopify today for those who are a Shopify brand. However, brands love to work with us because we have a really easy out-of-the-box solution to implement subscription programs in an intuitive way. We also have a highly engaging customer account portal experience. Our customer support is second to none. And as of today, we are the only subscription app to offer built-in loyalty rewards for both subscribers and one-time purchasers. So that's really exciting. You'll probably hear me talk a little bit more about that, but excited to dive in. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, please do dive into that. I will take it over to Yao next. And Yao, please don't hate me. I know I typoed your last name right now. I'm just seeing that.
Oh. You are not the first person.
Oh, I hate
sure
myself.
Will not be the last. No, it's all good. It's all
right
good.
Yeah, please give us an intro.
Yeah, and Michaela, I feel for you. I have like 3 kids at home, so I feel like I'm always running a low-grade fever at all times. But hopefully you're feeling better. So yeah, Yao Enning, co-founder and CEO at Malomo. We help brands take control of their order tracking experience. So a lot of people don't realize this, but if you look at all of the traffic that hits your website, about a fifth of it is actually hitting your order tracking experience. And so it's super engaged part of the customer journey. People really love to know where their order is. And so help you transparently communicate order status. But because of all that engagement, it's also really high performance marketing channel to get that customer back into the buying journey. So our merchants will use the tracking experience to get customers to click through and buy more stuff. So excited to talk about some of those strategies today.
Heck yeah, you've made it so easy to make that post-purchase just fabulous instead of like something to skim over or something you're hunting for later on, right? Props to the Malomo team. I love it. I can't wait to hear from you. And then Ethan, can we get an intro, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm Ethan Giffen. I am the founder and CEO of Groove Commerce. We're a 17-year-old e-commerce agency. We help mid-market brands design, build, and grow their websites. About half of what we do is replatforming on platforms like Shopify Plus and BigCommerce. And the other half of what we do is our growth services. So things like email marketing, SEO, paid search, conversion rate optimization, et cetera. So I'm excited to be a part of the panel today with all these esteemed guests.
Yes, awesome. Thank you all for that amazing intro. I'm going to go ahead and get into our agenda. I'm just making sure I can see you all a-okay on my screen. Okay, perfect. So from these wonderful speakers, we're going to get into this type of agenda, which is still all about using that data. So we're going to get into database building, what to really prioritize there. We'll hop into post-purchase world And then we'll wrap it up with loyalty. So you'll see how you'll fit in there, and feel free to use chat for those real-time questions. I'm happy to pivot any of our questions to our speakers if there's somewhere we got to go with the topic. So we'll start it off strong here with our first theme, and we're going to be answering these as a panel. So what data can and should brands in high risk be capturing and monitoring to increase revenue? And this is thinking more outside of email and SMS, or in addition to email and SMS supplementing that. So I would love to hear creative ways that you've seen high risk brands use or gather their first zero and first party data. And for this one, I'll start it off from the Justuno point of view, and something that I don't really see used often, but is such a cool way to gather another piece of data while getting into another channel. And that's grabbing those social handles. So grabbing the social handle of any visitor coming to your website allows you to then use a tool or just do some general outreach in your own discovery to find out if that visitor is fitting into that like affiliate or influencer group that you may want to work with, and create those marketing strategies that live off of your website and that are a little more curated for a niche audience. So that's one piece of data or information, insight about a visitor that I would prioritize now, especially considering social commerce is so important. And just the way, not just being able to shop on social media, but just the way that feeds back into DTC and your website and retail, like it's all becoming such a good story, and such good touch points come out of those channels. So the ability to have another way to not just target them by having their social handle and kind of knowing who your audience is, but also being able to reach an extension of that audience. I will leave it at that one because I want to hear from everyone else here. And I would love to start it off with you, Shannon, from the Smarter point of view on data.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. Thank you so much for that, SJ. There's a lot that we can tackle here, but I think the first thing I want to talk about is how, yes, a brand can be considered high risk, but more often than not, these brands have products that are finding ways into consumers' routines, right? And then also these early adopters, or people who have been around in this niche market, are very much part of a very engaged community, right? So I think one thing to note, yes, I'm coming from a subscription app, but we are seeing more and more of these types of high risk brands lean into creating subscription offerings because of that community concept, right? So when you have that, and when you're able to kind of build from that most valuable cohort of customers, you can get a lot of data from that. And I think I'd be remiss to say, as a beginning note, our integration with Justuno is a great place to start. Justuno does a really good job of identifying people who have either come to the site for repeat purchase, or have come to the site multiple times. That's a great opportunity to then seed something that's more around a subscription offering, right? Or upsell to subscription. So I would always recommend doing something like that, because once someone has becomes a subscriber to your product, again, you can untap and unlock new incentives for them to really engage with the brand more, which will also incentivize them to share more, right? You can get feedback on products and things of that nature. I think one of the most interesting use cases I've seen people leverage their subscriber cohort is with kind of like an early access exclusive. So in Smarter takes over the customer account portal experience. So I'm going to take it a step back just to kind of give you some context. So if you wanted to manage your subscription, you'd have to log into your customer account portal, right? Within that experience, we also offer the opportunity for exclusive products, exclusive discounts, etc. Where someone could offer exclusive products, you could also offer early access. So we had a brand, I think it was a canned mushroom beverage, right? And they wanted to introduce a new product segment, which was a powder, right? And what they did was they introduced the powder to the subscriber cohort early on, but did not introduce it to the rest of their omni-channel, in retail, in Amazon channels, things like that. It was their subscriber cohort first with the feedback survey on the powder product, right? And what they found was people were using the powder in a shaker bottle, but the powder doesn't shake well with that, so you needed a frother. So instead of upon launch, right, instead of just kind of launching that all at once, they were able to include better education around using a frother, but also include a frother on the first purchase, right? So that's a really good use of your subscriber cohort. These really engaged, these customers that really love your product. I recommend leaning in on them more and more for data collection and things of that nature, to have just a stronger go-to-market approach all around. And then there's a lot of other things just from your subscription program that you can learn. You could easily identify which products are often bought together or are often in a subscription together, which then could incentivize you to implement like a bundles offering or a build your own offering, which then can increase your AOV, right? And then I think one other thing that's worth mentioning is, cancellation flows. Typically, if someone wants to cancel your subscription, ask them why. It sounds silly. It sounds easy, but it's a good way to collect data on different ways to strengthen your program, right? And I think there's a lot of other things that I can touch on, but those are just top of mind for me today.
Yeah, just those top of mind awesome nuggets. Thank you, Shannon. That was great. When you said community, I immediately went to geo-targeting and just being able to also know, like, not only what products are most likely to be bundled, but like where are most of those purchases coming from? Like that's an instant way to boost that community, like in that locale.
Absolutely. And such a great point. Also on the subscriber cohort side of things, we can see what areas, what locations subscriptions are queued up in, right? So it's almost like a heat map
There you go.
of a literal map that says, okay, maybe these are areas, like if I was considering a retail play, or if I was considering, targeting a specific locale for a pop-up or something like that, great option. But good call.
Awesome. Okay, I love taking into that. And then your call out for using your subscriber base as more as that like research base, like more of that, like I guess there's VIPers and there's subscribers. Maybe you consider them the same thing, but I'm sure brands have their own definitions. But I love tapping into them just as like the most immediate kind of feedback you could get. That's great.
Exactly.
Is there a certain number of subscribers that would like be significant to you that you think to pull all of that, or to pull from?
Yeah, if there's any data analysts on the call, I'd love for them to talk about like statistical significance. I'm sure there's an actual number. But honestly, I think any amount is helpful, right? Especially in the early days. So if you're just launching subscriptions and you have 50 subscribers, those are the core customer you want to build around, right? I think often, no matter the business, whether it's a high risk brand, whether it's CPG, whether it's a tech startup, right? You need to lean in on those early customers and identify what that ideal customer profile looks like, what they like, et cetera. And that subscriber cohort are the people who have found utility in your product, found a love for your product, right? So make sure that you're building for them at the end of the day.
That's great. Yeah, I feel like the original messages up to them.
I'm not a data analyst, but I will add on the kind of addressable market for a subscription. When we've worked with brands that have built out a subscription, we look at your existing loyalty database or existing subscribers in your digital channels. Then we make that group a little smaller and we say, how many people have made at least 3 purchases in the last 90 days? Okay, let's make our first goal converting 5% of that group to a subscription. They shop often, they're bought into loyalty already. We have a foundation we can build on. So not a very buttoned up data answer, but anecdotally, that's where we usually start.
Oh, awesome. That's great. I love that direction. Yeah, starting kind of small but sweet, getting a lot of valuable insight from that. Go team. I love that. Spring Big is an absolute lifesaver. Someone commenting. I love that. Cool. Well, let's take it over to Ethan from Groove Commerce. I would love to hear we've talked about subscriptions now. You do the good deed for all these brands. What are you seeing here?
And believe me, I always consider myself a VIP. So we'll start with that, a VIP shopper. So I want to be on the VIP list. Thinking about, I really thought about this question in terms of the top of the funnel. What kind of activities should someone be doing in order to maximize the amount of email addresses and customer data that they're collecting out of that? And so it's really kind of making sure that everything within your site is bulletproof and ready to go. So leveraging things like click and scroll heat maps, using something like Hotjar or Lucky Orange to really kind of show you how real life visitors are interacting with your website, to make sure that you're getting them moving, like at a minimum, through the navigation and scrolling through your site and reviewing all the content that they should be. You're really trying to hook them in to your brand. That really kind of like tying into things like, of course, pop-ups from Justuno, potentially on-site surveys, downloadable buyer's guides, right? Often if you're direct to consumer with one of these brands, people can be skeptical for many different reasons, right? So they're looking for as much information as possible to answer all of their questions in that process. Once you have them, once you've got their email address, you can start to kind of move them through that process, getting those overall touch points with them, especially if it's not a product that most people purchase on the first visit to the site. But how are you going to get them into your abandoned cart flows and other things like that to kind of move them along? But really, is your site set up in a way that converts? And are you taking advantage of every content opportunity and call to action that you can to at least start the conversation with someone?
Nice. Everything that you're saying is like, at a minimum, you're kind of focusing on that navigation, which is just guiding them from step to step, and then taking it a step further to look at like kind of specific objection data is what it sounds like, stoppers along the way. Yeah.
People are not, paying attention to places where people get where speed bumps happen on websites. They're not paying attention to making sure that you're moving people through that sales funnel. And so reducing any friction, really, really helps. Like, why put all this work into it if you've got a site with a ton of friction on it or a site that's slow, right? So leveraging those types of tools first will make sure that you're presenting yourself in the best way possible.
Yeah, in the best way. I'll piggyback off of that one with the idea of like not wanting to create friction. There's also a lot of actions or like the places where now an objection behavior may happen, right? And maybe if they've been idle on your site for 20 seconds, if they've traveled 4 pages and still haven't added something to cart, but they're a return visitor, like those kind of nuances will help you learn how someone is behaving on your website. And then also being able to target like immediately when someone clicks that add to cart button, are you able to show them any kind of gift to add to cart? Kind of like Shannon, your example you were saying with the frother where they were giving it. Like ideally, that's either just included with purchase or you're making it so easy to add to cart along with just the initial bigger product that they're looking into. So kind of being on the same topic of like not having a slow site, it's also being speedy with how you are proactively responding to their actions that maybe they might not expect you to show, a pop-up message or a free gift right when they click. But that's the type of experience that you're giving that does feel more proactive. And kind of like we're saying in chat, like you're able to be seen as an actual visitor and being able to kind of be upsold, but in a really like personalized way, for lack of a better term. More real-time way. That's probably better.
One of the things that we see that people very rarely take advantage of is Justuno's ability to trigger different pop-ups based upon UTM codes in the URL. And so people are not taking advantage of if let's say a referral partner is sending you that click. Why not acknowledge that referral partner in the click, right? And kind of build some social proof with that. If they're coming from pay-per-click, right? Changing the pop-up or, there's like, you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of those kind of table stakes opportunities that are very, very easy to do within Justuno.
Very easy. Great call out, Ethan. I'll let you wrap it up on that one. That's perfect. Call it to Justuno. We'll take it over to Michaela. Can we get your feedback on this one from the Spring Big side?
Yeah, definitely. If you can't tell by the big pot leaf on the wall. A lot of Springbig's client base is in the cannabis space. We also work with the hemp space, alcohol, vape shops, skilled gaming and gambling. But in cannabis, I so often talk to our retailers about how much information there is in the products that customers are spending time on that they're not buying, because there's so much curiosity in most cannabis purchases, but there's also a lot of hesitation. And I think a lot of education is required for new customers in cannabis. And I'm sure this applies in most high risk verticals. The example I'll use is my mom gets her med card in Florida, and I watched her first online browse of a dispensary's e-commerce site, and she went right past the flower, was like, I don't know how to roll a joint. Then she spent about 10 minutes looking at pre-rolled joints and ended up buying edibles because that felt safe and comfortable. But as a marketer, if I know that there was a lot of curiosity around a pre-rolled joint, that can really tailor how I communicate, what type of education I'm putting in front of you. So I think having really detailed analytics to track user pathways is insightful in all of the ways we're talking about, like optimizing the site and understanding where we can have smoother conversion. But in these industries where we are looking for more info on shoppers and customers all the time, I think there is a ton of gold in the customer journey and what else people are interested that they're not buying. And it's interesting because social media is such a cornerstone for most businesses operating in 2024, and most cannabis, hemp, high risk industries their accounts are risked being shut down and shut off. So there's a lot of hesitation in putting considerable time and resources behind building communities on Instagram or TikTok. Twitter, X, and Reddit have kind of become the shadows that high risk hides in terms of social media these days. And it's been really cool to see creators, run cannabis accounts with hundreds of thousands of followers and never say the word cannabis, only talk about gardening and flowers and doinkers, so that they're kind of shimmying around any of those buzzwords that will get the content flagged. But I always love hearing about Benjamins, exactly. So social media, I think, is a whole other beast for most high risk operators. But it's 2024. It can't not be a part of the playbook.
Absolutely. You hit on many, but I'm surprised to not hear you say YouTube. Do you see that at all?
There's a lot of content that on YouTube in the high risk space, cannabis specifically, but not a lot that's geared towards the canna curious customer. I'll talk more about how you get to those when we start talking about referrals, but a lot of the content on YouTube is product reviews, which is great if you know what a terpene is, if you know what the product is. But if you're my mom, like if it's not on maybe Instagram, Facebook, you have to be really, I think, reaching for the YouTube content, and that's not where the Canna Curious are going for information.
Understood. I will have an example to show you, and I'm looking forward to getting your feedback later on this one. Thank you for sharing that. I loved your 2 words, Canna Curious. I've never heard that. That's awesome. And then you said like brands need to shimmy. That's such a good way of like how we need to maneuver right now in like these high risk industries, because of the limitations, so much of what you have to do, which you guys are all in it, is you're trying to be an authority in this space. You're also trying to educate and trying to make people feel comfortable enough to be curious, right? So it's like, if your navigation isn't on point, if you're not showing something at the right time in that whole journey, that's just these hiccups that we want to avoid. Man, great.
Yeah, and you have no choice but to also start driving some revenue, because you can't get a small business loan if you're touching most of these high risk things, cannabis and any plant medicines, and capital is hard to come by. So it's a pressure cooker for sure. So I'm always excited for opportunities like this to get resources and thought leaders together for people running businesses. It's tough and high risk.
Yeah, and you're pivoting often, adjusting, but we are here to help, I promise. We will wrap it up on this one with Yao. Can you tell us from that post-purchase Molomo view? What are you thinking here?
Yeah, for sure. Man, those are such good ideas. Like I was taking notes myself. So a couple of things to maybe add to like the great responses around this. And actually, Michaela and I think Ethan, you both touched on this a little bit. Purchase intent, like trying to figure out what people might purchase in the future as they're going through this experience, I think is pretty interesting to do. So we talked about like recording clicks and what people were looking at, visiting, spending time on. Being if they checked out and didn't make a purchase with some of those items, being able to have a post-purchase survey saying like, hey, we saw you were looking at this product. Was there any reason why you didn't buy this product in this session? And trying to get some insights there as to maybe some of the objections that did stop them from making that purchase on that specific product. I think Justuno does this too. Like you guys are collecting data around clicks and where people are visiting. Wish lists are also like a really key thing that you can get some insight into, right? If people are adding things to wish list, right? They're kind of building the intent profile for you. And so you can have that list of things that you can retarget with them afterwards. There's a platform I think called Status that helps you activate your wish list really easily. And so yeah, really overlooked, but highly kind of like insightful data to capture. And then the last one I'll touch on is reviews. So there's like a pot of gold in reviews data. And like, if you just take the content and kind of analyze it, you can get a lot of insights into your customers around their purchase intent. Like, hey, like I bought this for my husband and he loves it, right? Or, I bought this because I was like planning for a special occasion, hang out with friends, and we use them this way. You can get a lot of like insights into more like behavioral or psychographic information about your customers by like analyzing your review data. So I think those are kind of some of the post-purchase things that you can look at data-wise to get some more insights on your customers.
Great call out. I love that you brought up the feedback loop and just like either continuing to try to get those reviews. And it's not like like just asking one time isn't going to do it. I hate to say it, but I need to be asked like 5 times maybe to leave a review. And that's if I liked it. And it's nothing on the brand, right? It's just you're trying to fit your feedback requests into my lifestyle, which I'm going to prioritize what I'm doing. So just being repetitive in that is super key. You also made me think of like with that whole survey, it's also like another option, a version B of that survey you could have is figuring out like if they're using your product, in what part of the day do they use it? Which the idea in that, what I'm trying to say is like, where does your product, your service fit in their whole the day-to-day lifestyle? And that ideally can help you curate your content, your, whatever video, blogs, or just like general pop-up messaging that you have on your website. That's what that can help curate. And I would also throw in, I don't know how everyone feels right now, how we're doing on AI, but ChatGPT, just to help you analyze those reviews and help you get a little bit more creative and maybe outside of just like you feeling like we're siloed and we can't do a lot. But ChatGPT is open to everyone. That is available, and all the data that we're sharing is perfect to try to curate like the best prompt for you to get the kind of content feedback that you need to share with everyone. And content on the side of like education, that maybe the type of video style that you should go with, kind of sky's the limit there to get inspo. Thank you all for that lovely feedback on the first theme. Let's get into the second theme. We'll do a time check. We got, okay, we're good. We're good to go. So second theme here, focusing on post-purchase now. So we had a good segue there. What kind of strategies are key or even essential to growth? So they are a customer mode, and we're looking to share creative ways that you've seen high risk brands stand out or just pivot to something else in general. I would love to start with Ethan from Groove Commerce. Can you take us away on this one?
Yeah. Thank you. So, I mean, there's just a lot of things that can go into this kind of into the post-purchase world. Where I would generally want to start might be some bundling or upselling in the cart, right? Do you have products that are maybe kind of new or things that you want to get people buying more than one of your product, right? To get them hooked on your brand. So, do you have an opportunity to upsell a trial pack or something, along with that order in the cart process, any kind of extended warranty or guarantee, that could go along with your product? Again, you're trying to just drive that AOV up just a little bit more, right? Because every dollar you get back in lifetime value helps you, get a better ROAS with things. Definitely loyalty and subscriptions, right? We've talked about those, but I think loyalty is huge. Review requests with cross sells in the emails. I think that's something that people aren't taking a lot of advantage on. And then ultimately any kind of educational content, how to use or adopt the product, right? And that's something that, again, is often missing, especially from direct-to-consumer brands. It's like, just take it a little bit further. You know exactly what products they bought. Can you drip them out a series of 2 or 3 emails on how to leverage or use the product and the best practices for doing that? Again, you're creating that brand loyalty with that. And then, then you kind of hit them with that post-purchase potential upsell. If there are perishables or kind of single-use items that's a part of the product, get them in a subscription for replacing that, right? So there's a lot of different layers that you can attack that to create additional growth.
I love all of those. Thank you for the call outs. You hit it on the feedback loop for sure, and just initiating that in some way. You also made me think of with post-purchase, and like it is post-purchase, they're returning to site maybe, or wherever it is that they're purchasing. So ideally you should know a little bit about them. And I think post-purchase it's still, it's a place where it's still important to give that somewhat of a VIP experience. And maybe in this high risk industry, right? We want to just make people feel more special outside of those other D2C industries. And it's because we do have to work a little harder to get this conversion. Like in the end, it just does take a little more creativity and touch points. So with focusing on post-purchase, I love the strategies where they are making that return experience totally different from the first. And not just in like they're getting a different welcome series pop-up or a different cart abandonment pop-up. It's more like on Mondays, you're going to get double the points now if you shop. On Wednesdays, you're going to get 5 times the points. Maybe around certain holidays, that's where they're thinking about points and gift redemption. You made me go there, Ethan, because you mentioned loyalty, and it's like loyalty, they've already bought one thing. So we can kind of go hard into loyalty and showing them something else to get them even more intrigued to join our loyalty program, or just that whole VIP community that we're trying to build. But creating something like that every day, kind of having something where someone's coming to the site and it's like your own event, I think can feel really special for this post-purchase experience. And on that side too, of creating your own event or your own kind of like branded celebration. Like I see a lot of brands celebrating their birthday, and that's a huge sale that you can have a pre-sale for, a sale, and a post-sale for. And depending on how we want to segment, that's where, like in Shannon's earlier examples, you're getting into tapping into those subscribers, or at least people that have shown you a little more intent that you can feed off of. But I
Well,
love
again, I mean, even leveraging Justuno, people are kind of one and done at times with the pop-up in terms of, oh, I've already gotten their email address. I don't want to show that again. But again, post-purchase, you control the UTM and all the links in those emails. Why not have a thank you pop up? Why not have, like, there's so many ways that you could personalize and customize that journey that aren't like heavy in terms of a technical debt standpoint to kind of build and create. In each additional touch point, you're building additional brand loyalty along the way with it.
There you go. A fun way, you brought up email and targeting that I've seen where maybe high risk merchants are a little different in non-high risk merchants, but it's in that email that you're sending. And if it is like redeem this gift or redeem this offer, you're not quite giving everything away in that email. You wait until the post click to then reveal or have them redeem that offer in some sort of gamification or just like self-identification, select what you want. But the idea is that you're not making them make that decision in the email. We want them to have to make that decision on the website, which is like your source of truth, where everything lives, where like you put in all your effort, right, to give them a really good experience. So that's where we want to maybe think about high risk and like, where are we making that decision happen? And just giving them one extra click or one extra engagement opportunity to get there. Lovely. Okay, I didn't expect that one to take me to all those places. I appreciate that combo there. We'll take it over to Spring Big. Michaela, what are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, so I also loved Connor's question in the chat just around some of the high risk verticals that have limitations on retargeting. We see really similar regulations in cannabis in certain states. Certain provinces in Canada are very strict as well. So I'm more familiar on the compliance on the cannabis side. So talk to your compliance people for sure and gut check me. But one kind of workaround that I would say is that I love, we have a client in California that does a text message and an email, depending on where we have opt-ins, to anyone that spends over $300 at their store. And it's a virtual handwritten letter from the GM of the store. And it's just saying thank you. It's just saying thank you so much. We know you have so many choices. You spent your hard-earned money with us and we appreciate it. We're a small, independently owned business. Your purchase helps employ locals in the community. Your dollars stay here. Thank you. And I would argue that that's really effective retargeting, but it's also avoiding any potential regulation issues of an offer or a promotion. So I think those types of means are always good to think about, that if you know when you want to be in touch, you usually just have to get creative on what you can say. So lean into the relationship side of it, whether it's thank you or, we miss you, or, hey, here's something new that you might like. So engagement and communication after is important, and it is definitely challenging for high risk, but when you take a promotionally driven message out of the equation, the regulations usually get, you can usually get farther in that sense. The other thing, loyalty, like for me, I could talk about loyalty all day, but for me, I think where having a tiered program, even if you're running a paid subscription, is such an easy way to identify your VIPs. And I think getting referrals from a VIP is a lot easier than other cohorts in your entire customer base. So I think also VIP experiences in high risk, experiential is so cool because thinking of cannabis, like so few people have even walked into a store and bought legal cannabis. Then think about how many people have toured a grow facility or had a growing class from a master grower or a edibles infused dinner night with the winner of season 5 of Top Chef infusing 6 courses for you. You're sharing that on Instagram. You're telling all of your friends that you went to that. So obviously, like, loyalty is such an easy answer, but get creative with loyalty. And I think, yeah, experiences I absolutely love. And I would just add, a lot of people are always wondering how to gauge success of loyalty. So if I'm talking about loyalty, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that if you're curious, if loyalty's working, analyze your loyalty members versus everybody else in your customer base. Loyalty members should visit more often and they should spend more when they come in. And if they're not, we got to think about your loyalty program and why it's not working the way it should. So loyalty and build a relationship.
Oh, those are great examples. It made me all just feel like those scenarios, those experiences are just making that brand so much more approachable. And it's a mix of like making the product, that high risk product approachable and your brand approachable. So like mixing those two is really tough. Thanks for those killer examples, Michaela. That was awesome. Let's go over to Yao at Malomo. Can you follow up Michaela on that one, on what you're thinking?
Yeah, it's hard to follow up. But when are we doing the Top Chef dinner? I am so game.
I would love to do that with you.
Right?
That sounds amazing. Maybe we need to throw that. The 5 of us need to throw a brand-centric edibles dinner.
Vote in the chat. Would you guys come?
Yes,
I got
yeah.
the first invite.
I'm there.
If you vote, we will make it happen.
Yeah.
That's great. So I mean, yeah, lots of great stuff there. I want to touch on like transactional as a channel. A lot of people just sleep on that. Transactional emails in particular, they just get such high engagement. We typically see 60 to 80% open rates on transactional emails. They're driven by customer intent. So typically the customers want to receive those emails, right? They want to open those emails. In particular, like delivery emails, right? They want to know when their package is arriving. So those assets are really key to drive customer engagement. The way that our merchants kind of leverage that, as well as their kind of their tracking or their order status page as well, is, if somebody's made a purchase and they did not opt into receiving any like marketing messaging from you, order tracking may be the last kind of chance you have to snag that opt-in. And we all know it's hard and getting harder, especially for high risk brands to market to customers. So getting that marketing opt-in is really key. Some of the most like the easiest and most obvious ways of doing that is around getting like delivery updates, right? Do you want updates on your order via text or email? Subscribe here, right? Using Justuno's opt-ins, right? If we know that the customer has not opted in, you can target those customers with the Justuno pop-up and grab that opt-in. Great time to ask for that marketing opt-in as well. And then in particular, like our brands, especially like our alcohol brands or wine brands, people need to be home to sign for the package, right? Signature required is pretty key. Someone 21 and older needs to be home and present to sign for the package. So a lot of our brands like to message around that, right? Make sure that you're home, right? Pay attention to getting our out for delivery emails. And sign up for SMS updates when you do. So like you are hyper aware that the order is coming today. So using those moments where you know the customer intent is really high to hear from you as an opt-in channel, that's like a really good time. The other thing that we see a lot of our merchants doing is segmenting the experience. Most obvious way is subscriber versus non-subscriber. So for customers that are not on subscription, right, they might hit an order tracking experience that talks all about the subscription or highlights the best-selling subscription product. And they can leverage Smarter to opt into those subscription products. And that just drives the LTV up of those customers, right? Turn those one-time buyers into repeat customers. And because your marketing dollars just have to go further with every single customer that you have to acquire. So some creative segmentation is really key in doing that.
Excellent. Yeah, and segmentation it's taking place at all times, especially post-purchase in this way. And the way that you guys are making it like its own channel and giving so much thought to the post-purchase, like actual pages is great. I really love, yeah, our last template that we had in Justuno together, which is where we are addressing the order confirmation page and then the tracking page with different SMS opt-in messaging. So even to that point, like you can get segmented. And like, I think the order tracking one is asking if they want to get those delivery updates versus the confirmation one, or maybe I got those switched, is asking if we can send them relevant product recommendations based off of what they just purchased. So two approaches to trying to get them in that channel, which kind of like to what everyone was saying about knowing that what that subscriber or that shopper is really doing for you in the long term can help. Lovely. Let's take it over to Shannon from Smarter. What are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, I wonder how much time we have because I could go all day on this. So I think I'm gonna echo sentiments across the board here.
Cool.
But first, story time. So two brands come to mind with this category and this topic. In terms of like a pivot of strategies. So one brand that we work with was in the, female product space, which wasn't really categorized as high risk until they wanted to kind of enter the sexual wellness space a bit. And then things started to change. They had to weigh the pros and cons of actually like switching over to a different payment processor, things of that nature, right? And when they were asking themselves, like, is the juice worth the squeeze here, right? One of the key things that they had to weigh or, key data points that they could look to was their subscriber cohort again. So like, how many subscribers do they have, right? How much revenue is that actually driving? And that, because that consumer, that consumer profile is already, locked into the brand ethos and everything that they stand for, they're going to have their back, right? So they ultimately move forward with the whole process. And it wasn't the perfect process. It was a little, seamless, but ultimately they move forward and now they're offering that product and they're, on their way. So I think like, it's just kind of, we were talking about shimmying before. I think it was the perfect shimmy, I think. And it really was a good use of leveraging that subscriber base as a way to elevate your floor a little bit, and make sure like give you that reassurance you have, you can take the product in that direction even if it does fall into a high risk category. So that was one concept that I wanted to share with you guys based on just pivoting a strategy. But also I think in terms of how you stand out, we work with a brand called Joggy, who a lot of you might be familiar with. They're a CBD brand, but essentially they ultimately created a rewards program called TYB, you might be familiar with, but it's on Web3. And it takes loyalty to like a whole other level, and it's more of like a community oriented thing. So when we were talking about, or Michaela was talking about experiences before, basically you're getting rewards for showing up to those experiential events and things of that nature. Now, we have our own loyalty program here at Smarter, but we can talk to that separately. But when it doesn't really matter about the tools. It's the fact that you're pairing the community with subscriptions, right? And I think when you take someone like a Joggy who is running a community oriented, truly consumer oriented approach to go to market, and then you pair that with an exceptional experience post purchase. Ethan was mentioning like, right, this is where you have the most control over your customer experience. It should not stop after that first purchase, that experience, you can ultimately, unlock and grant exclusivity and treat those VIPs like they should be. And that's where, I think Smarter comes in, and I can talk a little bit to some of the things that we can help with, right? Where someone wants to go and, let's say, manage their subscription, right? Maybe they want to pause it for whatever reason or cancel it. They're going to have to log into their customer account portal, which is a standard flow, right? Leverage that. It's total untapped opportunity to lean in and offer, give them a reason to stay and engage with the brand. So again, make sure it's, completely white labeled. It feels like an extension of the brand experience, but also, spoil them. give them early access to those new products, as I kind of hinted at earlier. Members only products, exclusive discounts, loyalty rewards, as we all touched on, and I can talk a little bit more about that in the next section too. But I think it's I think Michaela also mentioned that cohort of customer. They're the most likely to, get word of mouth out there. They're the ones that are going to show up for the events. They're the ones that are going to do the double opt-in when you go for that, high risk product, and they're going to have your back in through the good and the bad. So again, make sure that they're being rewarded for that. Couple more tactical call outs that I could mention would be, we were talking about referrals, but I think some brands often overlook the gift next order. So, if I wanted to, maybe I have too much product and I wanted to skip my order this month, instead of skipping, I always recommend brands to have a gift your next order, because a referral in a high risk space, because it's so niche, is always going to go so much further, right? People are going to, not only are you, avoiding missed revenue from that skipped purchase, that skipped order, but also now you're getting in front of a seemingly lookalike audience. And I feel delighted as a consumer because I just shared one of my favorite products with someone else, right?
Oh yeah.
And then, you mentioned another good point in terms of the moments where people are locked in, highly engaged, expecting you to reach out. I think subscriptions give that much needed context for brands to reach out to customers, right? There's only so many promo emails you can send, So if you have that upcoming order email ready, leverage that for maybe an opportunity to increase AOV or educate on, a new product or something like that. So again, I think, post-purchase is really where you can start to build the relationship, truly.
Oh yeah. And you can apply all that awesome data that you have and it won't be creepy. This is the perfect time to go crazy and use it. Oh, great examples there, Shannon. I know we're at 4 minutes. How are we doing panelists? I know I have another theme. Are we good to hang on for 10? If you got to jump, that's cool. Yeah, good.
I got 10. I'm good.
You guys had? Okay, let's hang on for 10, guys. We have our last theme here that we'll get into. And then at the end, if you're able to hang on, there will be a little survey for the Zoom link thing. And you can pick anyone that you want to hear from more, or just that you want to have a follow-up conversation with, so we can continue that. Cool. So third theme, we are talking about gaining a customer. We've said that's great, but gaining a loyal one is even better, right? So what does it take to make word of mouth easy and effective nowadays? Nowadays, just considering the economy, considering ways that you can be discovered, and considering how easy it is to get misinformation, right? You're battling that as well. I think with gaining a loyal one and gaining a customer, the difference now with shopping is that a loyal customer, they're kind of ready to be loyal right at the beginning. If you do one thing right, it's oh, I may stick around for that. If you do another thing right, that loyalty is already forming. So in everything Shannon was saying, it's you're applying that loyalty and you're giving that them a way to be loyal. So I would love to take this over to Spring Big. Michaela, what are you thinking on this one?
I am lamenting so often on this with clients and with partners. And the one thing that we always land on, hands down, no matter what the industry is, there's just no replacement for your customers loving the buying experience of giving you their money. And honestly, you guys, the bar is so low right now in 2024 for how to impress customers, which I think, to your point, SJ, is why if you make this easy for me, if you show me a little bit of appreciation, like I don't want to have to look for another sunscreen again or whatever it is. I want to be loyal. It's going to make my life easier. I want to subscribe so that I don't even have to think about ordering it again. But I'm definitely not going to do any of that if I don't have a good experience when I'm making my purchase. So whether it's online, whether it's in store, I really just recommend to all operators, like, check your ego at the door and be ruthlessly self-critical about your processes. Walk through them like a stranger. Ask a stranger to walk through it. Be open to constant feedback. So I think that is really, and especially we're in the high risk vertical, there's a lot of trust that's required for that purchase. I mean, like, the last time somebody bought weed could have been from like the back of somebody's trunk when they were in 10th grade. Like, we're trying to rewrite stigmas, whether it's sexual wellness, cannabis, alcohol, mushrooms, you name it. So I think building that trust is foundational. And then, once you have it, I think letting people, like, we've talked so much about referrals, but our data within the referral programs that our customers are running shows us that when someone comes in through a referral, they're 5 times more likely to actually make a purchase. So think about your cost of acquiring a customer. You could probably cut it in half and be wildly generous to the referrer and the referee. So I think those would be my 2 like ninja swords, knowing we've got 10 minutes and I want to keep it brief.
Oh, you're the best. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. That's great insight from the Springbank side and just making that experience all the more memorable, easy to talk about. I love it. Let's take it over to Yao. What are you thinking from the Malomo side here?
Yeah, I love that, like, just self-introspection, like being self-critical comment Michaela made. And I think, like, nowadays it's like inevitable that problems are going to happen during the purchase or post-purchase experience. Like, things that can go wrong will go wrong. I think it's how you react to that as a brand to your customers. I'll try to find the study, but there's some really strong research where a customer who experiences a problem and you write that problem shows much stronger loyalty dynamics over time than somebody who never had a problem at all. So I think, like, the mindset should be whenever issues do come up, it's just like, hey, this is an opportunity to actually create a memorable moment and drive loyalty with that consumer. Obviously, like the post-purchase experience is when a lot of problems can occur at delivery and where a lot of hiccups can happen, and just being proactive and transparent about those issues, like admitting that, like, those things are happening and that you're aware of them and you're trying to make it right, will go a long way. And then I think once you have that, like, really strong relationship that's unfolding, I think trying to find ways to make it easy for that customer to become an advocate for you. So doing things like even adding samples in the order for things that you think that they might like, samples that they can actually gift to their friends, right, to try the product. I think is really smart ways to kind of like drive that word of mouth. Like, obviously refer a friend programs are great, like the give 10 get 10 type concepts work, but like going the extra mile with that sampling can also like really spur that person into experiencing the product firsthand and making a decision in that moment to make a purchase. So those are the things I think about.
Those are great. Thank you so much, Yao. I'll take it over to Shannon from Smarter. What are you thinking on here?
Yeah, I know we have limited time, so I'll be quick, but I think the thing I will say is loyalty, that term, it's tossed around in very different ways, and it's a pretty loose term these days. So the thing I often will say, there's no need to over-engineer a loyalty program. Unless you're a Sephora, unless you're a Starbucks, no one's really looking like, what do I need to do to get into that next tier so then I could get you know what I mean? Like, root the rewards and strategies in repeat purchase. Root that in actual tangible actions that the people are going to have, right? If you are leaning into social media, like UGC is a good thing, right? Like the things you already anticipate your core customers doing and taking action on, make sure you're just incentivizing that, making it a little bit easier, making like remove that barrier. And that's where loyalty points are really good. And I think, again, to, for the sake of not over engineering a loyalty program, like I've looked at so many people, and I think Michaela hinted at this earlier too, when you ask them what's your ROI on loyalty, it's kind of hard to answer sometimes, and it gets a lot less hard to answer that question when it's rooted in a recurring revenue model. So that's what I'll say about loyalty. But thanks, guys.
Thank you, Shannon. And let's hear from Ethan. Can you wrap us up on this one, on gaining a loyal?
Absolutely. First, your product really needs to make sure that your product stands up to your kind of brand promise and overall customer expectation. That's like one of the big things for post-purchase. If it's not a good product, you're not gonna do well with it. And then, really, I feel like one of the things that brands often do, or folks often do, is they just hammer people with sales emails over and over again, versus creating some great educational content that informs, content that teaches, content that engages. And it's just all about sale. And you need to make sure that you have a blend of those types of different types of emails when you're communicating with your audience.
Yeah, make the sale feel even sweeter with all that education. Thank you so much, Ethan. I will go ahead and wrap up our slide deck, everyone. You will get this in the recording email, but we have some examples that you can see. This is one, Michaela, that I wanted to point out to you, this brain expansion group, this post. It comes from a client of Justuno's, Tweedle Farms, if anyone's familiar with them. But they had success in sharing more of that like gardening education on YouTube in their shorts. So a win, I think. I was surprised to not hear YouTube, but I totally understand why that wouldn't be the first place. But as like all of these different social media platforms are like kind of all getting on the same page, right? Like shorts, reels, short form content, that can totally translate onto your website, that kind of video, that kind of engagement. So as you're testing offsite, try applying that to onsite, and it's a great time to test, guys. It's summertime, before the holiday time, or before like your specific seasonal time is a great time to get all the data and kind of see what you do want to test out. So that I just wanted to show Michaela that one. More examples here for you. We had some final comments. Lastly, we do have some offers for you. So we talked all about, I loved your note, Michaela, just like be crazy at looking at your website and any kind of hiccups that may come up there and what you can do to improve that. So a free conversion audit will get you there. Then we have a free BigCommerce benchmark group invite from Ethan. We'll get you the chat there. And then a 21-day free trial of Malomo from Yao, which is more than enough time to go wild with your post-purchase and really make the most out of that as like its own channel. So use link.
I'm also happy to waive Spring Big setup fees for anyone that joined us. It's a $950 value and covers integrations, implementation, everything. So sorry, I didn't probably get that to you ahead of time, but want everybody to take advantage.
Yes, I'll include that in the recording email. Okay, I'll get the deets from you for sure. But awesome. Let me make sure I throw these in chat for my people that hung in here. Got the benchmarks. Cool. And then we have over here.
We also have a benchmark group for Shopify folks as well that are interested.
Oh, fabulous. I did see that. I will definitely throw that one in the recording email. Okay, that got sent. Amazing. Thank you everyone for hanging on. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to you later.